Hello and welcome back to What's Bubbling a ZIM. I'm Dr. Abstract, and in this bubbling we're going to continue to look at what's new in ZIM 019. Let's go to the ZIM site now at zimjs.com, and we can see what's new behind this banner, or the ZIM 019 up here, or we can go into the About section and look at versions and find that we're on ZIM 019 here. We've done a general bubbling on all these things. We did a bubbling on the cheat sheet, the shuffler, the shader channels, the perspective, and now we're going to do glitch. And glitch and perspective both operate on the shader channel technique that we've added that allows ZIM objects to be passed into a shader basically and have the shader operate on them. For instance, here we're going to glitch. Right here, a ZIM list. Isn't that neat? So this is the strength of it here. So now we're getting more glitchies, bigger glitchies. And then if I go to the 0, I don't get any glitchies. And 1, I can hardly see the glitches. 2, a little bit glitchy. 7, more glitchy, etc. And we've got different types of shaders that we've collected that operate like glitch. I think scan is the one we're using here on the ZIM logo. So we've got 2 glitches happening here. What this one does, the bottom one, is there's a secondary sort of feature. I think in this case it was more those lines, interference lines, that are showing up more now. Don't necessarily see them being too much more in that. So almost looks like more in that. Hang on, let me try this one. It just depends on what the glitch was made from. So in this case, there's these thin lines that are in there, and there's also chunks. This one features more of the thin lines, and this one features more of the chunks, although I almost can't tell. They're still in there, but maybe less and more. Anyway, what we did is we tried to look at each glitch and figure out what we could provide. It's definitely the strength is working, but the secondary one was sometimes if the glitch was made up of 2 things, we tried to make it feature more than one thing versus the other thing. Okay. Anyway, why don't we take a look at the code? Oh, last one here, it's not terribly impressive. It's a, won't be impressive if we turn it off, but it's a halftone, and it looked pretty cool when videos were running, but it's less cool, I suppose. You see how it sort of is changing size as things bypass it. With the video, all these things were pulling from the colors in under the video. We've got a very gray and white thing, so it's not terribly exciting in this example, but you might want to try it on something that's more animated. All right, yeah, let's take a look at the code here. F11, bring this down and going. Hopefully you're having a good day and not too glitchy a day. All right, we're bringing in ZIM 019 here. We have a glitch. This is the logo right here, the logo glitch. And we'll come back and talk a little bit about the logo. Let's go down though and talk about the list right now. So there's just a normal list in ZIM. And we're applying a glitch to that list and centering the glitch. So you see how we haven't even added the list. It's all being done through the glitch here. And we're glitching it with full alpha, so that means it's all the glitch, or all what's going into the shader. We can still see, excuse me, we can still see the ZIM object there, but it's all being passed into the shader. Where here on the logo, if you take a look at the logo up above here, we're only going 0.5. So if this is too glitchy for you, like if that is too much glitch, then you can drop the alpha of the glitch itself to say 0.5. Excuse me. And down, go back to the one that we had. Oh, I can't see anything because it's a live version, so we want to go to our local version. There we go, that's better. See the difference? So now we're not seeing as much of the glitch and we're seeing more of the original one. I can drop that right down to 0.1 and we'll hardly see it at all. The TV, I can't see it much. See anything? Yeah, it's in there a little bit, just a little bit of flicker, but obviously that's I think too low a setting. Bring it back up to 1. There's the original strength, which is matching probably the original strength here, index of 2 on the list. And what we're doing is when we change the list itself, we're changing the strength uniform to whatever the list value is, to one of these numbers. And then down below, we've got this is the stepper that's changing the different type of glitch. So G2, that's this glitch. Glitch type is now whatever TV, scan, chunk, or halftone. It might be that in the future, if anybody finds some cool glitches out in Shader Toy or wherever, let us know and we could add to these types of glitches. They're different fragment shaders basically in behind there that we're doing. And then here's the slider, and the slider is adjusting the modifier uniform. So modifier and strength are what those are called. Modifier and strength. Sometimes you can't even tell what's going on with the modifier. We did our best. It's pretty complicated code, that. And anyway. Then there's this cool effect right here, and I think this is kind of important for glitches. Glitches don't always happen, so they often, you'll get normal, 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 and then glitch. Normal, 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 glitch. And so that's what we're emulating here. And to do that, within the glitch, we run a ZIM interval, and that interval is, in this case, going 3 seconds on, 2 seconds, and then it'll call after 3 seconds and turn the glitch on. Then it will call after 3 seconds on and then 2 seconds off, and so that interval is turning the glitch off and on. But a cool thing here is the variance is there, and so the variance of 1 means plus or minus half, I guess. It's a 1 across this, so it doesn't always go 3 seconds. It could be 2. It could be 2.5 to 3.5 seconds, and this is 1.5 to 2.5 seconds being kept off. Okay, and that's so easy to do with the ZIM interval. With ZIM v values, they're called dynamic parameters. And those dynamic parameters are recursive, so that means we can set an on and off series, which we've done, but in that series are arrays of, a min and a max in each. And so that's really cool. Anyway, we love the ZIM v values. That allowed us to do that quite easily without even having to program it. We just put in the numbers. And then that does what we're seeing here in the logo, where the logo glitched there, but now it's not glitched. There it glitched. And that's nice, especially if you've got something like, this is our local version, which doesn't use server-side includes. So come back here and come back to our main our 019 page here, and this is also doing the same thing where we're glitching a perspective. So that's kind of cool because perspective is a shader on a ZIM object. The object is just a tile of straight lines, and then we perspective it and then we pass the perspective into the glitch. So that's a shader within a shader, and what we're getting is a glitch, and we don't turn that on all the time. So when it's glitchy, it's on. When it's not glitchy like that, it's off. Then it comes on. So we did the same thing there, setting some ranges. Just watch it, because if this were across the site, which it used to be, however, we like our current banner, this banner, We love that banner, so we're keeping that banner. We just brought this one in for the ZIM 019. But we also set it so you could turn it off because it's a little bit distracting. That's what we found as we were using it. It was like a bit distracting. And we can also bring up the alpha. That's just the alpha of the overall glitch object. So there it is in full alpha. And there it is where we can't see it. We found ourselves turning it off going, oh, okay, now I can concentrate on what I'm doing. So anyway, we've gone to the previous banner for our official banner. All right, back into the glitch. Did we look at the code? Yeah, we've been looking at the code here. Where did we get to? I think we're almost done. Yeah, so that's the on and off of it and the variance. And here we also said turn the glitch on after the time on. Oh, right, so keep a normal looking, otherwise it would have done the glitch first and then the not glitch, so that's just a subtlety there. Good, I think we've done it. We've gone through it. Just one thing to watch. This is interactive because our glitch doesn't really go very far, and so therefore the real interactive thing in there is in the same place as it. You might be thinking, oh wow, it'd be cool to oh wow, it'd be cool to go back here to the perspective and make this interactive. So imagine that you tiled in a full interface. It wouldn't really work though. The reason it worked is because the glitch had the original that was interactive with the mouse in the same place. This is too far though. It won't. I mean, it might. If this were a set of buttons or something, they'd all be in the wrong place now. So we have not mapped the mouse to the shader. We've not masked the mouse to the shader. So if you want that, then you would go to something like out here in ZIM, our texture actives, which were around in ZIM 0, created in ZIM 015. So here's a demo of texture actives. So there's the perspective, and this is interactive. And so that's quite wonderful. But we're not, ZIM's not a 3D framework. So even though that's what's happened, like we're potentially coming close, this is what 3D is. Like this is a shader that does perspective. And so something like 3JS is built with fragment and vertex shaders to give you 3D. But we're not all that. We don't have cubes, spheres, all that kind of stuff. We're not going that way. And because we've got 3JS. And so if you're wanting to actually make something like this interactive, then you could possibly map. We had mentioned this when we were looking at this. We could possibly map as we move our cursor. We could put the original underneath that we can't see and move that original along with it. I remember where it was. It was back on this example right here. We were talking about that because in this example, as we move the shader, we're counter moving something inside the shader so it looks like it's not moving. And that reminded me of an interactive technique that I did back in the 90s that would allow us to do, and I couldn't remember why I used it back in the 90s, and now I remember it was to do the perspective, to be able to handle that. These things, so in other words, as you're moving along a perspective, you move the flat thing in behind, invisibly underneath, and make sure that it goes to the right mouse position. And then when you click, you're actually clicking on the traditional flat thing rather than the shader perspective thing. And so it was quite the trick. And you could try and do that on our perspectives, but really, why would you really do that when you've got this kind of thing happening. So this is now texture active, and that's a video
Hello,
in texture
I'm
active.
Dr.
And as we go here, we've got full interactivity. Woo! Woo! So full interactivity in 3D in 3JS, including drawing and labels on path. Like, this is just so ahead of everything else. And unfortunately, the 3JS people are still, oh, let's put a logo on a t-shirt and can you transform it? Yes, but we can also, do full out apps right here. Let's turn the sound off on that. We can do full out apps on 3D as well. It's more than just positioning a logo. We could put a book on there. So we're so happy with this, and we're kind of just waiting for the world to catch up and use that to make 2D puzzles on 3D elements inside of 3D. So cool, huh? So in other words, we don't really need to make a 3D world. All that 3D world is built for us in 3JS, which is a very powerful and wonderful framework. And so it's nice to be able to have perspective in here. But just one thing to watch, I think we did it when we talked about, it was this one, the shuffler. This is perspective looking as well, and is a simple shape. So that's called the flare. Or you could use a shape and make things yourself. So if you just need a hard-coded perspective object, consider that. Well, that's a shape. Consider that. But however, it's still handy to have perspective around. People have asked for it, and people have searched for it, and now ZIM has it. Yay! Okay. That, by the way, is okay. That's when we plane it. It just is flipped and sort of works itself out with everything else. Woo! Anyway, we're back on glitch. Like I said, both the glitch and the perspective are using the fact that we can pass in shaders as channels now, or sorry, pass in ZIM display objects as channels, and then we've wrapped the perspective and glitch to wrap the shader channel concept. Super. So we hope to see you in the next bubbling, and we'll do that on the monitor, and then another one on isometric. In the meantime, if you're wanting to ask any questions, come on into Discord or the forum up top. We'd be happy to say hi. Cheers. Have a great day or night. Bye-bye. I am Dr. Abstract, and this has been What's Bubbling at ZIM.